Hi, Debbie.
Hi, let me unmute myself here. Hi, how
Yes,
are
I
you?
was just going to say you're on mute.
There
Uh,
I am. I'm
so
sure that there are a lot of people in my life, including my husband, who would actually like that.
I'm not going to touch that. So Deb Baker Hall is a mixed media artist who employs acrylic paints, monoprints, found papers, and other scavenged materials to create what she calls storied surfaces, non-representational passages of color, texture, pattern, and line meant to convey a sense of time passing, experiences garnered, memories held, and waning. As an emerging artist of a mature age, she is focusing on the archaeology of self-exploring the essence of personal identity through building, scoring, abrading, and resurfacing of the image plane. Wow, that's quite a statement.
Yeah, that's a lot of artsy angst talk, I think, but it's also representative of what I do.
Well, you have a beautiful piece on display at the exhibition, which is mixed media. It looks like it's got most of the elements that you just described.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing currently.
Well, that particular piece is a jump off point for me into a series. And what I'm really looking to do ultimately is to kind of abandon a lot of old ways of handling materials and conveying information and really simplify. I want to do that in my life too. I'm looking at ways to uh, really abandon a lot of identities that I've had through my life and through various careers and ways of being that just aren't relevant anymore. And so I'm really looking for a way that I start bringing everything down to something and simple and direct. And I came onto this whole idea of 9 square because I'm just aware of certain things like Amish and BG quilts, of someone like Sean Scully, who is just using squares and looking at the adjacencies of very muted colors. Someone like Joseph Albers. I mean, these are all people for me and craftspeople for me who are really boiling down a lot of visual information and making it not just pleasing and accessible, but authentic feeling. And so that's what I'm going for. So that was kind of a jump off point for me. It
Wow.
was a board. It was a piece that wasn't working. I had it hanging in the studio for 2 years. And one day I just took it down. I took a rotary tool and divided it up into 9 pieces. I started painting over it and papering pieces of, as I said, found papers
Right.
and old prints and went from there. And I was just so excited about that process and what it could do for me that I got a couple other old boards and scored them, and I'm working on that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm in my 9 square series.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. So the process. So are you using canvases as a
No,
base, or
I
wood boards, or
am actually working on wood panel. And
okay?
then what I'm doing is when it's done, I'm building a frame that I'm gluing it on. Here's
Yeah.
another one of my little WIP 9 squares that are working now.
So
And so that gives me the opportunity to really score things, scan things, to live on it, sand it back. I'm creating a visual story. I'm building a story and telling a story. And at the end, a lot of the story of my choices, my aesthetic choices, and my risk taking is there to some degree. That's what's revealed.
so if you start a new project, you start with a
Speechless,
clean
Phil.
board.
You don't know what to do. What?
when you start your process with let's say a clean panel,
Mhm.
then you're building it up in layers. You're adding different elements each time.
Yes. I never work on one panel at a time,
Ah,
ever. And generally how a piece will start is what I call the offload board. As
okay.
I'm painting, and at the end of my day, we all have that palette of mixed paints and mud and gray and whatever. I hate to waste paint. So what there? Yeah. And then all of a sudden one day I look up and it's like, oh, I have something to respond to here. And that's how it goes. I'm going to turn my camera a little bit. You can see these are like works in progress up here on the
Oh
wall.
yeah.
And some of them are further along than others, but that's
Right.
basically how it starts. It starts on a bare board. I'm just throwing paint on it so that I'm not wasting it. I'm starting to build up my surface so that I know there's something to carve into. And then at some point, I walk into the studio, I go, oh, hey, look, something's going on over there. And I start digging through papers and string and whatever other thing I found. And I
Uh-huh.
start looking at really interesting adjacencies between the lines, the colors, the values, the textures. And that's what I built from there.
Wow, that's exciting. That's interesting. So do you work in your studio every day? Are you a full-time
I
artist?
do. I do. I'm a full-time artist now. And
Okay.
that's because I have the luxury to be a full-time artist now.
Well,
You know,
good.
like people, I had a number of careers. And while art has always been a part of my life, it's never been a central focus of my life until the past 3 or 4 years. When I retired from my last career, I said, you know, hey, you're not getting any younger. And if you're going to do this art thing, you better step in and step up now. And for the very first time in my life, I actually rented studio space. And I now have a designated studio space that I built from the ground up this past winter
Oh,
in my backyard.
yeah.
Uh, you know, my parents, bless their hearts, now both gone, left me a nice enough sum of money to be able to do that. And
Wow.
so I am in my happy place.
Well, that's exciting. Ah, now what a shame that we can't open it up this year.
I know, and you know, really, I feel the same. What I love about Open Studio is welcoming people into the space and really engaging with them. You know, being of just answering their questions about my process,
Yeah.
or and also asking them. I always ask everybody who comes into Open Studios, "Are you an artist?" And lots of times people go, "Oh no, 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 I'm not an artist." I think everybody is a creative. And I think that I just love to talk to people about what they're passionate about, how that fuels their everyday excitement about their life.
Wow. So you've been doing it full time for the last about 3 years,
Yeah,
and you're still loving it? You're still motivated to get in the studio every day?
every day, every
Ah,
day. Even Saturdays and Sundays, unless I'm hiking. But I would say for me, this is really a discovery journey. For me, I am looking at, for the first time in my life, because I'm not involved in careers and raising children and being active in my, you know, as a community activist, for the first time in my life, I've actually had the luxury of noticing what I notice. And I'm getting clearer and clearer about what's pleasing to my eye, you know, what captures my attention, in terms of color, pattern, whatever. But I'm also getting clearer and clearer about noticing my own habitual ways of turning up in life. You know, my biases, how I see things,
yeah.
how I dismiss things, how I anticipate and actually kind of try to maneuver around challenges. And what art making does is throw me up against those biases and considerations and fears, and also throws me up against those kind of habitual ways of seeing and thinking, and it expands. You know, I'm like pushing against those things now. So that's the discovery and the delight for me.
Wow.
Like I said, I'm in my third act, and I don't want to just phone it in from here.
Yeah.
I really want to continue to explore, to expand, and truthfully, I want to continue to be relevant. And I don't think any of us can continue to be relevant, particularly when we've surrendered a lot of other jobs and goals and careers, to be relevant unless we're still pushing to grow and to communicate how we're growing. I mean, that's the piece about art that's beautiful, is that it gets to be a storyboard for how we're growing, what we're discovering. We can share that with other people.
So is there a theme to your art? I mean, are you concentrating on statements about the environment or
Those things come up
community?
because those things come up because, of course, they concern me.
Uh-huh.
But it's actually, I mean, the truth is that my process is elemental, in that I just really begin with noticing what I notice and bringing that to the platform, the actual real platform of a wooden panel. But it's also elemental in an alchemy type of way, because what's happening is there are a lot of intuitive finds, adjacencies, and ahas.
Uh-huh.
However, we all have a lifetime of interests and experiences, and they do show up. They don't go away. And so I care about the environment, and I care particularly about what's happening right now in California. So those things they come forward. It's abstract, but they're there. You know, I care about patterns. I just love them. I love that kind of purity of intent and the strength of tile patterns and basket weavings, and, as I said, Navajo rugs. And there's just a purity about that which just so resonates with me, and I look at those things a lot. So those things come up in my paintings.
Wow.
And I can get angry, and sometimes that comes up too.
So
I don't usually
how do you
sit with
express anger in one of your pieces?
No, I don't usually sit with that. In fact, making art is a place for me to offload. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like, it's a happy place for me to be. And the making of art is a happy state of mind to be in. So in that way, it's an escape.
So you turn the TV off and go to your studio.
Is where I want to be.
Yeah.
I just saw a message from my old studio mate, Michelle Cordova, saying she misses having me next door. What she really misses are my power tools.
Well, that's good. You all share. Well, I'm so happy that you chose to participate, even though it's virtual this year. That's really nice of you, and we hope you have a great weekend. We encourage people to ask Debbie questions, visit her studio, make an appointment to go buy a piece,
Right?
or two or three, as Libby said. Any of that
Thank
would work.
All right, thank you
Thanks,
very much
Debbie.
for the wonderful interview, Phil.
Thanks.